Aloha, welcome to my culminating capstone defense. My name is Kealohilani Leleo. I also go by Kealohi. During this time, I was a second year educator at Waianae Intermediate teaching mathematics. And that's actually the focus during this presentation. My hope is to eventually, when I go to my third year, I take these same skills that I learned and grow within Waianae High School. So here is some pit stops, as I like to call it, for my adventure, where we go through some old habits, renewing them, hoping to grow from them even more, and some final reflections. So first off, right here, why do children dread mathematics? According to Shakuntala Devi, is because of the wrong approach, because it is looked at as a subject rather than real understanding, to be honest. And that is true. Mathematics is probably one of the few subjects that are only seen as why is it important? Because we're seeing it as worksheets, tests and quizzes, repetition and memorization, procedural learning, in other words. Students, what I heard teachers say was students learn through continuous worksheets and repetition. That is what I've been hearing, seeing as a student myself when I was going through it, as well as I unfortunately took these old habits into my own practice. And so Spalding University came along and I started to grow even more. I realized that math is a lot more than that. And so let's go ride the wave of now as a C writer. First off, we had to build relationships in math. And I had to show my students that math can be more personable. How I did that was I encouraged and we built a community where we can collab, celebrate not only our achievements, but also failures. Provide opportunities to interact with each other so that way we can address individual needs. And also to create a space that is inclusive and supportive, not only to the inputs, but also active participation in our discussions. How I did that was I had to teach my students what a healthy classroom looks like first. Then I had to understand their mindsets to show that not only are they my students, but they're also my peers along this journey. So I have to treat them that they are also important and human. Then to understand them every quarter, I had them do a quarterly reflection because my goal is to ensure that schools and math classrooms are a space to build relationships and us to learn and reach our goals. Because that's what Wine Intermediate was all about. Wine Intermediate was about providing that learning environment and ensuring that they are communicating because our students are stakeholders as well. And also too at Hawaii DOE, doing the same exact thing, ensuring that these standards are reflective in our classrooms. How we did that from day one was that we built a community, and our community standards were our values and rules that we had to abide by. My students were the ones who chose these. Each class chose the rules that they wanted to follow by and to ensure that the whole team did it. Then on a different day, we ensure what we understood as excellence and ensure that how can we achieve it as a team, as an individual, and pretty much as a class, as a community. Because of these understandings and this foundation, my students got to grow their relationship with each other to the point that they even built games like this. This was a ball game that they decided to do when the moment they were bored, and it was honestly amazing to see because that first showed how creative they can be. During that time, I had to teach that math has the potential to transform mindsets and promote equity in education. Do that, I had to teach my students what it is like to have a growth mindset. In other words, have a positive attitude towards our mistakes, see them for moments of growth, and have positive attitudes towards the challenges we go through. Then ensure that they have problem-solving skills that helps them to see that they are persevering, creative, critical thinkers, and ensure that they have the tools to succeed. Then, of course, as always, math had to come alive. I had to show that we are no longer about just worksheets and tests. We also can apply real world applications. And so the first off, to ensure their mindsets was I gave them the reflections I told you about earlier, was that through these two students, I got to see the growth mindsets. when we first started, when I first gave them, their pre-math mindset was math was hard. I don't even like it at all. Then, as we started to grow together as teachers and students and as a community, they realized that they enjoy the projects and activities. But most of all, they felt safe. They felt like math was real to them. They enjoyed showing off their talents. They enjoyed understanding that they can use real life skills to do math and that math isn't everything that we do, touch, and see. The first thing, though, how I had to do that was do their work. So this is some work that they did. Um, First off, they had to understand what it was like to be a teacher, and how they did that was through our fifth unit, system of equations. They got to build lesson plans with their groups, present it, and give out assignments, whether it was just do some activity like outside. So they really got to cultivate the classroom that day. And then during our last unit, they got to build their own cities and to share what it was like to have a safe city. And these assignments were just our very beginning because since I was learning and because of time. And so I had to teach them what it was like about having a deeper learning sense, especially here in Hawaii. Understand that our mistakes are beauty. And this is a book that I wrote. Um, Here's some evidence of their work that they did, of and also to what it was like to have beginning autonomy for the classroom and realize that it's more than what we know. And so the reason why is because the whole purpose of education is to turn mirrors into windows, according to Sidney J. Harris. And honestly, I agree because each of us stakeholders, from admin to students, staff, coaches, department heads, parents, we should be taking our piece of the pie of education and coming together. We should not be having separate parts, but coming together of our expertise and knowledge. That way, education is more than just us reflecting on ourselves, but opening and broadening our horizon. And that way, it just has this open communications all around rather than it's just going from top bottom or bottom to top. It's all around communications. And so my hope is that for teachers, we eventually have training opportunities that enhances our practices rather than feeling like a refresher, but also helps us to grow so that way we can become mentors and coaching to first year teachers, especially if you're a veteran. You have that opportunity to be a mentor or a coach, and also to that first years have somebody that can be supported to them, as well as have the administrative support in all curriculum and ensure that all curriculum eventually comes alive, not just math. And also acknowledge and recognize teachers more and appreciate them because when we do, students are able to have more personalized learning, more project-based learning, more feedback that is timely and addresses them academically and social and emotionally. And also realize that we need to celebrate our students' identity and ensure that we have positive learning environments that boost motivation and promote a sense of belonging and community amongst each other. And so here are some of my plans that professional growth for teachers and students and the benefits of it, realizing that we also can take assessments beyond the four walls of math and ensure that assessments does not need to look like a standardized test. And also to promote that it's time to connect the heart and mind in education, and some also extra support of all the combined tasks coming together of my whole journey here at Spalding University. And so here's some final reflections for me. During my time, I also got to grow and connect back to my roots of being in Hawaii and as an educator. Understand math is different, and yes, it takes the work to have a growth mindset, but also see my students grow and see them take charge in their education. Although I'm only in my beginning education career, my hopes is to take all the skills that I learned at one intermediate and start to grow and emphasis even more that it's time to put education into my students' hands and see where they can cultivate and grow within that time. And so that's my plan at moving forward at Wana High School. And so I just want to say thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great one. Mahalo.